Greetings guys, gals and non-binary pals, and welcome back to another video. I hope that you are well and I hope that you are fighting because there's a lot to be fighting for. Today I'm coming to you from temporary location number 1.5. I'm still in my auntie's house. I'm just in a different room because the other room was in use. So here I am. Also, you can see my forehead, and I think this is the first time I've ever worn my fringe up on this channel. That's just because, one, it has no color anymore. It has faded all the way out. And two, it's a little bit long. It's like up to here and I can't see. And I couldn't find any scissors to butcher it myself. So now it's pinned up. And I think it's fine now, but I know watching back at this while I'm editing it, I'm gonna hate it and I'm gonna hate myself for pinning it up. But you know, it's all about pushing boundaries. It's all about like forcing myself to do things that make me uncomfortable, to like challenge my insecurities, you know? So that's what we're doing. We're gonna pretend it's intentional to challenge my insecurities. Anyway, today I'm here with something I haven't done before. It's something I've done before, but it's something I haven't done before, you know? And that is going through a Reddit of like the best of Tumblr, because Tumblr is a place. I personally feel like someone who used Tumblr, but I didn't. I kept up with Tumblr as a teenager through the Best of Tumblr Facebook page. I personally was an Instagram bitch, so I've had several Instagram accounts in my days. I've had stan accounts, I've had mental health accounts, I've had like diary accounts, you name it, I have probably had it. There was a time when I was like active on 8 different Instagram accounts. So I never used Tumblr. All my energy was not there, but Kat uses Tumblr. And Kat went through this Reddit for me and found these posts, and today I'm gonna talk about them because I can. So that's what we're gonna do. Dating tip: if a guy tells you he's not very political, he's conservative but has learnt that won't get him laid. Accurate. Inaccurate. When I say I'm not very political, it's because I'm not. I'm a libertarian that leans conservative, but politics bore me. The next post on this dude's blog is about how women are naturally inferior. You see, that adds up. That adds up real well. It's true. A lot of people who say they're centrist, or a lot of centrists in general, are just conservatives in disguise. Being a centrist is being conservative. I hate to break it to you, but that is what it is. And this is a perfect example of that. Just say you're conservative and go, man. Just say it. You're right, though. It won't get you laid. I'm not sleeping with a conservative. No, thank you. The axe forgets, but the tree remembers. This is a huge thing, especially with kids. To the parent, they lashed out when they were mad and forgot about it, expecting the kid to forget too. To the kid, it was a big moment that defined your relationship with your parents. Stuff my parents don't remember doing or saying were things to me spoke very, very loudly, that I was not safe to be open and honest with my parents. The axe forgets, but the tree remembers indeed. This is really true with the parent-child relationship. This is a really important conversation to have, I think, with like emotional regulation. And this is something that parents do need to keep in mind, is that just because something, and everyone in general, just because something isn't a big deal to you doesn't mean it's not a big deal to someone else, especially children who are still learning how to navigate the world and how emotions work and what situations are and what's good and what's bad, etc. And like forming a relationship with people, especially your parents, is so vital and so important. And having like outbursts at certain things especially without like communication as to why that's happening, is very damaging and very traumatizing, and it does impact the way you interact with other people. My mom has untreated BPD. The other word for BPD is emotional dysregulation. She's not very good at regulating her emotions, and with BPD comes a lot of impulsivity and a lot of anger outbursts that can seemingly be triggered by like nothing. It's very easy to trigger like an anger outburst, and the emotional dysregulation is just like a lot to live with. But since it was untreated and unchecked, that led to a lot of outbursts that really greatly affected me growing up. Having outbursts that as a child you don't understand really impacts the way that you interact with people throughout your life, and it really impacts the way you view emotions and how you yourself regulate emotions. I have BPD now because of how I learnt to navigate emotions and because of trauma and things like that. I get therapy for it, or I did get therapy for it, and I take medication, and since I experienced that, I'm much more aware of what I'm doing, and I have a lot of guilt around my emotions for those reasons and because of what I've learned. And it is something that I have to live with and something that I have to deal with, and it is really difficult. And now as an adult with the same disorder, I am able to understand and empathize with my mom and how she did have those outbursts seemingly over nothing. I get it and I understand. But obviously as a child, you don't know those things and you aren't emotionally intelligent. You do just think that's how, you know what I mean? Anyway, that's a little bit of too much information about myself, but I always think it's really good to be honest about these things and talk about them. Basically, you need to be aware of how you're treating people, and you have to communicate your emotions instead of just lashing out on them, because the way you react to things does define your relationship with people. And just because you understand it and you think it's a justified thing doesn't mean the other person understands it. So you always need to tell them, because the axe forgets what the tree remembers, right? The biggest scam of all time was convincing kids that Wikipedia, a free source of unlimited information, isn't reliable, though when there's literal sources at the bottom and a strict editing policy. Seriously though, as someone who put literal years of effort into creating a Wikipedia hoax, it's basically impossible to get away with for more than like an hour. They're fucking vigilant. I tried to build up a trust by doing legit editing, but my account got reviewed because I approved a page that mismeasured the size of a ship by a few centimeters. It's so true, right? It's so ridiculous. I always used Wikipedia anyway and was just like, oops, sorry, I forgot to cite a couple of my sources, and I never got called out for it. It's because they want to make your life difficult. I really can't think of any other reason. It's this thing, right, where it's the same with exams. You go into an exam and you're not allowed a book or you're not allowed notes. In what situation are you at like a high stakes thing you have to do for work? You're given like a strict deadline. It's high stakes. It's like make or break for the company. You have 3 hours to do it. But hold on. You're not allowed your phone. You're not allowed your computer. You're not allowed books. You're not allowed references. You're not allowed notes. Nothing. But if you fail, so does the company. That never in a million years is ever going to be an in-life situation. That's never a real-life situation. That's not a thing. And yet schools have the audacity to be like, we're preparing you for the workforce. We're preparing you for real life. No, you're not. That shit doesn't happen in real life. Do you know how much better everyone would do on exams if we were allowed to bring in our notes or our books and, you know, actually take an exam as though it was a real-life situation? Especially now. Like, I could understand it slightly more way back, like before the internet or whatever, but like we have unlimited resources like at our fingers. Why are we not allowed to access that during an exam? Like, what does me having a good memory prove about my learning skills at all? I sometimes just don't absorb information. I always did really, really well on internal assignments. So I did really good on like essays and projects and things that we did that I was allowed to like reference things. I always did really well, but my exams always fell a little bit shorter because I have a shit memory, man. I can't remember this shit. And in New Zealand exams, it's not multiple choice. You never have multiple choice. You have to write in-depth answers for everything, which honestly is a little bit better because I'm really good at bullshitting. So in like my biology exam, I knew like it was like a big question and I only knew like a small bit of how it worked. So I just kind of bluffed and wrote a whole page on how chromosomes worked from like the small little bit that I remembered, and I managed to get good marks. But especially for like, I know in a lot of places it's multiple choice, and literally in what situation does multiple choice ever? That never happens in real life, especially not without references. Multiple choice exams are literally the stupidest thing of all time. I've never done one. They feel both easier and harder. Easier in terms of the fact that it requires way less thinking, but also harder because it's entirely memory dependent and so specifically worded. Fucking odd. All of our exams are like essays. Ask a question, write some paragraphs to answer it. Which is much better, but I still would like a fucking book, you know? When am I ever going to be in a situation where I don't have the internet, or at the very least, like a book to reference? Never. They just want to make your life hell and tell you you're stupid if you don't have a good memory. So fucking fuck you, man. Another weird thing about beer is that it has a weird masculinity connection to it. Like, yeah, I'll get a beer. I don't want none of them girly drinks. Jimothy, you're drinking wheat juice with a 5% alcohol content, and my fruity girly drink is 40% alcohol and tastes great. Literally, this is so true. I don't get it. Beer, I've said it before, we'll say it again. It tastes like carbonated water that you've like stirred your knife in after you've put Marmite on your toast. That is what beer tastes like. Carbonated water and Marmite. It's so gross. And it doesn't even get you like buzzed or drunk in any way. Before you drink enough of it to actually feel anything, you feel ill because you've just drunk a ton of Marmite water. It's just not pleasant to drink. I say that as though I've ever had more than one sip of beer. I can't stand it, so I haven't ever had one sip of beer, but like that's the vibe I get from it. I drink cider sometimes, and I'd imagine it's kind of similar in terms of how it makes you feel. Whereas I could drink like 2 effectively what tastes like fruit juices and get feeling good. Dance all night long. The choice seems pretty obvious. Why is fruit juice girly and Marmite water masculine? I mean, it's the same as like perfumes being like floral for women or like sandalwood for men. It smells like dirt. Like, fuck off, man. Just enjoy things. Just because something is good doesn't mean it's feminine. And just because it's feminine doesn't mean it's bad, you know? Like, get over it, man. Porn star martinis are fucking fantastic. Get over yourself and order one. Sometimes people use respect to mean treating someone like a person, and sometimes they use respect to mean treating someone like an authority. And sometimes people who are used to being treated as an authority say, if you won't respect me, I won't respect you. And they mean, if you won't treat me like an authority, I won't treat you like a person. But they think they're being fair, but they aren't. And that's not okay. Yeah, I know this made the rounds a few years ago. It made it onto the Best of Tumblr Facebook page. But it's really important, and I wanted to read it to just like remind you that a lot of the time, especially like parents and family members will get mad at you for being disrespected when you are just like existing. And you are treating them as a person, you are respecting them, you just like draw boundaries and they're like, that's disrespectful, how dare you disrespect me, when you're just asking to be treated like a person. If you're a person, you're allowed to set boundaries, and you should set boundaries, and the fact that people have a problem with that is a fucking problem. Especially as a kid, when you don't really, and that goes back to the axe remembers, the axe doesn't remember, but the tree does. The tree remembers, but the axe doesn't, whatever. They sort of interlock. About like your perception of what respect looks like and the type of relationship that you expect. Because I think one thing that a lot of people don't realize is the relationship that you have with your parents and people you have growing up with and things really impacts the relationships you have later in life, because it allows you to accept relationships that are similar to those because you're told that that's what a normal and healthy relationship is. So if you have an unhealthy relationship with your parents, which, listen, people talk about this all the time, like daddy issues and shit, that is true. If you have an unhealthy relationship with your parents, you do think that that is a normal type of relationship and that is what you deserve and that's what you expect and that's what you deserve, and so that's what you do accept. And so if you're being constantly told that like respect is treating someone like an authority, and if you don't treat them like that, then they're allowed to disrespect you, then you're going to accept that from friends, from partners, and that's why the cycle of abuse exists, right? You accept what you see and what you grow up with. We need to address the way that we speak to our children and the way that we communicate and have relationships with our children. I wish Americans fucked with more foreign music. You don't have to know the language to appreciate a good record. Folks in other countries listen to our music and don't speak a lick of English. Music needs no translator. Y'all won't trick me into listening to K-pop. Oh, these bother me so much. Because it's literally... Listen, I talk about this on Twitter sometimes. I've made a video about this before. But like, it's so true. English speakers in general are so entitled. We expect everyone everywhere to speak English and to understand us, which is why like a lot of schools don't offer learning languages, or it's not a very popular topic to take. I know in the US a lot of people have to take Spanish, but in New Zealand you do not have to take a language. You have to take Te Reo Māori for a year, I think now. But other than that, like you don't have to learn a language. I learnt French all through school, and by the time I got to my last year, there were 4 people in my class at a school of like 1,700 people. Like, no one learns languages. You kind of are just like, what do I need to know a language for? Everyone speaks English. And like, you expect people all over the world to listen to like Taylor Swift, but then you're like, why would I listen to other music? It's weird. Like, the amount of hate K-pop gets is ridiculous. Like, this is so fucking weird to me. It's literally just music in a different language. And a lot of people say like, no, K-pop is a very specific sound. When it's like, name 3 K-pop songs that you've ever heard. You probably can't. You've heard like one song and decided you don't like it, or you've seen the way that stans act on Twitter and decided you don't like it because all the K-pop stans are crazy, without realizing that like people in Korea who speak Korean, that's just like their music, you know, like, you're gonna call everyone in Korea who listens to that like fucking weird and crazy because that's it's a little bit problematic. And also I think you have to remember that you don't have to be involved in stan Twitter or with stans in general. You don't have to stan anyone in order to enjoy music. It's like a lot of people listen to Taylor Swift, right? Everyone fucking listens to Taylor Swift. Swifties are, they're a group of people. They're a group of people that exist, and people don't hate Taylor Swift because of her fans, you know? Like, people hate Taylor Swift for a lot of unjustified reasons, but her fans do not usually play a role in that. And a lot of people jump to conclusions about K-pop and what K-pop sounds like when you have groups that exist. Like, there's Day 6, who is a band, like an actual band. And then there's like BTS, who's obviously the biggest group, but the only songs that were played on the radio were their English songs. Surprise, surprise. And they write and compose their own music. And then there's Stray Kids, who make music that's like quite different from BTS's music, and they write and produce their music themselves. And then there's like Twice, who's a girl group, who again make very different music. And then there's IU, who's a soloist, who again makes very different music. There's such a wide range, and a lot of it is called K-pop, even though it's like a ton of different genres underneath the K-pop umbrella. It's literally just music in Korean. You don't have to be on stan Twitter. You don't have to stan a group in order to enjoy the music and to listen to it. And it's really weird that people have a whole vendetta, an agenda against K-pop in general, just like hating music because it's in Korean. You realize how fucked up that is, right? Like, that's kind of fucked up. It's just music by Korean people in Korean, and you're like, ew, gross. Guys, I think you need to rethink that for a second, maybe. It's weird to say you hate an entire country's music. Like, not all of their music is K-pop, obviously, but it does have a lot of different genres underneath it, and it's kind of a little bit iffy if you say you hate all of it, even though you've had like 2 songs, or you just hate Twitter. Just a thought. You guys are missing out. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'll say, is you guys are missing out. There's some really fucking good music, and it's very, very poetic. The lyrics are incredible. There are way more people who write and produce their own music than you would think. If you want people who are fully involved in their music making, check out Stray Kids. They're self-written, self-composed, self-produced. They're incredible. They have a new album coming out when you're watching this, like probably like in a couple of days. Check it out. Seriously, let's say you have a badass job, a great job, and you make $100 an hour. You work 10 hours a day, which is $1,000 a day, 5 days a week, $5,000 a week, and every week, $20,000 a month. That's $240,000 every year. It would still take you 4,167 years to make $1 billion. Exactly. Listen, the amount of people who say like billionaires deserve it, they've worked hard for their money. No one works hard enough for $1 billion, let alone several $1 billion. If it takes you 4,167 years of working a good job with no breaks to make $1 billion, how hard do you think someone works in order to get that much money within like a few years? Like, no one works that hard. No one works hard enough for that. And no one can spend that much money. No one works hard enough for $1 billion. And if you think they do, I'm sorry, you're just wrong. You can hope to be a billionaire all you like. The chances of it happening are like next to nothing. Just admit that it's fucked. You know, that some people can have billions of dollars while other people have nothing. No, fuck off. My insulin fell out of the fridge and my kid put it back in the freezer by mistake and thereby destroyed, and insurance won't replace it, so that's $800, which luckily I have, because if I didn't, I'd simply die, which is what happened to one of my students. So time to get to work. Just a reminder that Frederick Banting discovered the process to synthesize insulin, sold the patent for $1 because it was so important to him that it be widely available and easily mass-produced. Yes, you should be angry. The US is so fucked. Your health and medical care stuff is like absolutely beyond me. The fact that like this is a thing that can happen where you need medicine to live, right? You don't choose to have diabetes. You don't choose to be disabled in any way at all. You need this medicine to live. And so therefore you have to work way more in order to just provide for yourself extra that you need to live. And then if you can't do it, you die. That's fucked, man. It's ridiculous. $800 for like medicine that you need to live? Why? Why is the US so anti-communism that they literally kill people for it. You see conservatives and stuff preaching about how terrible communism is and how awful people's lives are in communist countries, how they're all dying and they're all poor and no one has any. That is happening in your own country. This person's student died because they couldn't get their life-saving medication that should be just available to them because they, should be allowed to live. They died because they had to pay $800 for it, which is like a week's worth of work. More than a week's worth of work for some people. You want to tell me that that's worse than free healthcare, which most countries have, by the way. Even countries that are not wealthy countries, a lot of them still have some sort of healthcare system that supports people in being able to have life-saving medical care. Instead of as much money as you have going into the military, maybe pay it towards people being able to live instead of paying it towards people fucking dying or making unnecessary weapons just sit in a bunker. It's fucked, man. It's fucked. Look in a mirror. Guys, just look in a fucking mirror at how fucking Jesus. This has been the best of Tumblr. There was a bit of a range of posts there. Thank you for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Massive thank you to my Kiwi Fruit and Kiwi Bird channel members whose names are up on the screen right now. And a massive thank you to my Sprout and above patrons whose names are also on the screen right now. If you would like to become a patron, you get a whole bunch of different perks depending on what tier you're on, but it includes my videos a day early, extra videos, outtakes, and a whole bunch more. So go check that out at patreon.com/savvycat. Speaking of, a massive thank you to my Kiwi cat members, Ari, Rosa, Talusk, Bobby, Sparrow, Josh, Mandy, and Robbie. I love and appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for joining. I genuinely cannot express how thankful I am, so thank you. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram, The Queer Kiwi, and Twitter, That Queer Kiwi. Subscribe to my second channel, Kiwi. And subscribe to this channel too, actually. I didn't say that before. You should subscribe. I'm here a few times a week, so you should do that, and I'll love you forever. Okay? Great. Cool. I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe. Keep fighting. I love you. Mwah. When you close your eyes.